Recording. Welcome to this session, to the third meeting, and today we have Glenn McKnight. Glenn is one of the representative of the Neralo to the Atlarge, and he has been managing the virtual SIG, which you might be part or if you have not, then you would like to check in. And it's one of the great resource to learn about what internet governance is doing, what you can do, and everything to connect with the community. It's a great resource, and surely would recommend you that. And Glenn will also share about his experience about how he started the ICANN, how he started engagement. And I would really appreciate Glenn for the person he is. He comes up to newcomers, he talks with newcomers, and a lot of the times he makes you feel comfortable, because I've seen Glenn, being part of the North American SIG, being part of the virtual SIG, and we young people are are on huge liability to people like him, who kind of like give us the space and motivate us. And he is the person. So Glenn, welcome to this call. And you as you like to start, please share your experience about how you started with the ICANN community and what you are doing. And please introduce yourself, and please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I appreciate those who are up in the middle of the night. So, just out of curiosity, I know, Shadreep, you're in Nepal. What time is it locally for you?
It's 9 right now, 9 o'clock
Oh, not
p.m.
too bad.
Not too bad.
And Evelyn, or what time is it for you?
Yeah, its Beijing time is 10:34
Oh,
p.m. Yeah.
not. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Anyone, Kasoon or Abdursad or Faheen, what time is it for you guys?
Uh,
It's
Nepal time
7:34 in Pakistan.
Oh, you're in Pakistan, so you're similar to Nepal time, right?
Yeah,
5:30
similar.
p.m.
Oh, okay. Okay. So nobody's in the middle of the night, right? Okay. I'll try to speak as your English is great, all of you. And I know in Ruka's case, she's the same time zone as me. Right now it's 10:30 Eastern Standard, Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Okay. Hi, everybody. I think Eris was going to be on this call, right? Shudri
No,
from
Eris.
Philippines.
The last call was Eris's. We had him as a speaker, so he's not joining us.
Okay. Okay. Just have to stop people calling me. Stop, 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 stop. I'm going to mute it. Hey, everybody. There's going to be some acronyms, and I'm sorry. I know you're new at the game. Shudri, please interrupt me if I use an acronym um, that that you're not familiar with, and we'll try to use the chat. I have the chat open, and I'll try to remember to put the link or the full explanation what the acronym is. So we have some time today, and I want to tell you about my own personal internet governance journey and how it started and where I am today. It's a definitely an evolution, and there was no such thing as this type of training that Shidreep and other mentors are doing for the mentees. Basically, you showed up at the ICANN meeting, and you know, you had mandatory meetings to be at, and off you went. And it was like a big swimming pool. You drown or you do well, and you find people and activities, it roughly 3,000 people are at an ICANN meeting, so you can get snowballed. In my case, I started with the North American at-large community. At-large community is one part of the multi-stakeholder model. There's 5 RELOs, and one of them is North America, which is the smallest RELO. There's EURELO, which is Europe. There's AFRELO, which is Africa. APRELO, which is huge, it's massive, all the way from the Middle East, all the way across the Pacific Islands. And that's Apirello. And the last one is Lacrello, which is all of Spanish and some English islands and Portuguese and Dutch. So I started in 2009, and I came from experience internationally, mostly in free and open source software. And I was the certification and development director of the Linux Professional Institute, which took me to 43 countries. And I was a big advocate for pushing for adoption of Linux as an operating system. And with that was also something called LAMP. And LAMP is your Linux, Apache, MySQL, and Python. So I worked with Ubuntu and MySQL to create certification for their exams. And I oversaw the development of the LPI3 Advanced Linux exam. So we, through 10 years doing that, I moved on to saying, what else can I do? Well, before I even got into the ICANN space, I was also, because I'm a member of IEEE, and IEEE is an engineering organization, has about 480,000 members, and has chapters around the world. And we had something called the Humanitarian Technology Challenge. And we looked at the global development, sustainable development goals, which I think was at that time 16 goals, and then it evolved to 32 goals. And we had three particular goals. We boiled it down to three. One was reliable power, cost effective, a system of providing 1 kilowatt power, either solar or wind mainly. Second one was communication, reliable, cost effective communication, internet connectivity. And third thing was originally patient records, and then it became individual records. So over that period, we met and we developed different technologies that which would enhance get rolled out. So on the communication side of things, there's a very interesting network of engineers working on connecting point-to-point systems. And so I worked with them, but most of the time I spent with reliable electricity. And this is the thing I have to stress is you need reliable power before you have reliable internet. So they go hand in hand. So while I was working with as a volunteer with IEEE, and they morphed into creating an internet connectivity committee. So they I worked with that group for a number of years, and that morphed also into something called smart villages. So for 10 years, very active with smart villages, or more than 10 years. And I talked my wife into being involved with it as well. So in the past year, I sort of stepped back from IEEE. I'm getting a little bit more active. I was supposed to go to Power Africa in Johannesburg next month, but not the case. But so it leads me up to 2009. And so that's when I joined Norello. And at Norello, I fairly quickly became the member for Norello on NomCom. Each of the Relo constituencies have a representation. So I did 2 years in a row on NomCom. And all these positions, chair, secretariat, ALAC, and NomCom, in the Relos, wherever you are positions that are available. Sometimes it's annual, once a year. Sometimes it's a 2-year term. It depends on the bylaws. You have to look at the bylaws, but those positions are open to anyone in your community, and it's well worth getting to know, attending those sessions, if that's the community you want to be involved with. So I was involved with Atlarge, and with that, you, as a member, there's monthly meetings, and also Atlarge in particular had cross community policy groups, which you actually find out what is the interest that ICANN has. And so this is the tip number one. You're going to, so Shidrape, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the fellows going to Turkey, right?
Yes.
Okay. Before, David Olive used to be the head person for policy with ICANN. I think he stepped down. He's retired. But always before the ICANN meeting, ICANN produces something called a policy document. It's a very short, 10 pages or so long. Highly recommend. Doesn't matter what community you're on. If you're a security person, SSAC, or if you're in a business community, or if you're an at-large, the policy document is crucial to read. So that's a good preamble before going to the ICANN meeting. Second of all, coming up to the ICANN meeting, what they've started to implement is because there's so many meetings, what they do is a pre-ICANN week, right? So a lot of that stuff is available. It's strictly virtual. It's all on Zoom. But you should attend those meetings as well. In addition, when you go to map out the location you want to go to, when you get to the ICANN meeting. But again, when you start this, the acronyms, the concepts, the policies, the discussions are probably going to be over your head for the first while. ICANN has a language, no different than your formal linguistic languages. So you need to get used to the concepts, and that's going to take some time. And Shidrip, I'm sure you shared, ICANN has a glossary of terms. You should have that available, perhaps print it. I know Diplo has one, GSMA has one. There's different organizations that have created key phrases. So when you say NCUC, it's a non-commercial community, and NPOC and SAC and all of those, you need to find out what your interest is. So if you have a particular interest, and if it's within the end user community, ALAC or at-large is for you. If you're a person that's concerned about security or business, again, belonging to the business community would be crucial for you as well. So the first thing I would do is I would look at my own interests and skill sets and map out the forthcoming ICANN meeting and enroll in each of those sessions that are associated with that topic of interest for you. Then you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck in terms of coming through it. You're going to have quite a bit of time to attend the sessions. There's going to be some networking opportunities. The fellowship program always has a social gathering one of the evenings, but there's also other social gatherings that you can attend as well. So I mentioned my involvement with, excuse me, my involvement with ICANN. The beauty of getting involved with ICANN is to find out where the strong policy opportunities are and how you can contribute. It's a very open process. So 2 days ago, myself and Daniel Milo, who's part of IETF, he's actually on the SAC committee starting this fall. Him and I submitted a series of concepts for the strategic plan for ICANN 2025. And in it is focused on the environmental concepts. So we've been working with ICANN staff for a year. And again, I invite any of you who are quite interested in sustainability and environmental impact of ICANN to actually be involved. We're going to be having some meetings with senior staff in Turkey. You're more than welcome to join. And again, I will be at the NOMCON meeting before, but during the ICANN meetings, if you want to get together with me, happy to do that. Just let's make sure there's periods of time between sessions which are good to meet in somewhere and chat. So on a one-on-one basis. And then I can get to understand what your particular interest is, and I can try to suggest connecting with different people. So my other two things that besides the for example, the submission on the environmental article for the strategic plan. Over the years, my stuff with the fellowship, I've been a volunteer on and off, mostly doing the photography of the sessions, also supporting the fellowship program through different ways. My associate, Alfredo Calderon, for many, many years, was on the selection committee and a mentor for numerous years. But one of the things we created is something called the stakeholder tool. And I'll send it around. So what I did, myself and Dev Rampersad from Trinidad, we created a searchable database of everyone who has taken the advantage of the Next Gen or the fellowship program. So it's a searchable database of people who've been lucky enough to take the fellowship program, and it's roughly over 1,000 people. And then you can see the pattern, what countries have been and who's taking it. But that was not publicly known. So myself and Dev took it upon ourselves, saying for full disclosure, we created this database. So I'll share that. It's a stakeholder tool. I just think it was a few years ago, just before the COVID situation, the DNS and Women's session, which is something the ladies on this call should be aware of, is that the DNS and Women group is a fairly large group, fairly well represented, or they're absolutely looking for young members and participants in the DNS and Women group. And Vanda Scarari is the organizer. So she'll be doing a social event as well coming up in the Turkey event. So Vanda used to be a board member with ICANN. She knows, she's from Brazil. So she speaks obviously Portuguese and English, but she's well worth to connect with. So the reason I'm bringing up DNS and Women, because at that point, last meeting was in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. She mentioned the lack of new faces being involved. So I took the time to analyze our stakeholder tool, and I found a real discrepancy in the gender bias, gender balance of it was way more men than women that were getting the fellowship program. So I advocated to staff and to senior vice presidents that that's not a fair process. It should be 50-50. And they pledged that they would do that. No, I'm not there. I don't know if they're doing it, but I'd be curious when I go to the fellowships meetings just to count how many, what gender balance there is. So that's a very positive thing, because this is a good way to get involved with ICANN, but also to get involved with DNS and Women. I am by de facto supporter of DNS and Women, probably the only guy that's a member. So I'm a member of DNS for Women. So the other thing that we advocated for was First Nations or Aboriginal Fellowship Program at ICANN, because there were no First Nations involved at all. Now, anywhere there's Sami in Finland, or there's Aboriginals and Aborigines in Australia, the First Nations or Aboriginals in United States, Canada, and South America. So we advocated for ICANN to allocate space in the fellowship program for people who are of First Nations. So that has now been integrated into the fellowship program. So if you have a particular interest, I'm very interested in human rights and fairness. So that's where a lot of the part that I figured that I could have a impact on ICANN and the rest of the community. So that has had some tangible things. Besides my nomcom, I was the chair for Norello, also the secretariat for Norello, and an ALAC member. So every position that was available for a RAILO member, I did it. And so now I'm back to nomcom for one more year, and that's it. So I'll be out the door after the end of this year. So encouraging other people to take up the same position. So we have a question before I deviate from ICANN. So I don't see the question.
I think I had put it down in the chat that if you have any question, raise your hand or you can have a question. Please go ahead with the conversation that you are having.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell entirely about ICANN, but before I talk about, I alluded to IETF. Sorry, I haven't even talked about IETF yet. I have to talk about that and ISOC. But I think somebody has raised their question.
Yes, Sachinananda from India, he has his hands up. So please unmute your mic and have your question.
Hi, Sachidananda Padhyay from India.
Mm-hmm.
So, hi Glenn, thank you for your talk. My question is, like, you were the part of ICANN. You were the member of, IEEE.
Yep.
So IEEE works on technical standards, while ICANN works on policy standards, right? So what was your experience from, like, you already working on technical standards and then you come to the policy standards, you join the ICANN or Narelo, right? So what was your experience? You find it as a challenge, or or there were some similarities between the two?
Yeah, I have to clarify. My IEEE has many societies, and what I was working with IEEE is strictly the IEEE Foundation and humanitarian technologies. So it was a very practical allocation of funds that was allocated to come up with best practice technologies, particularly inexpensive communication solutions and also the reliable electricity. And so it's it was not policy at all. They dictated what our mandate was. Here's the money, run with it, right? And very, very different than working with ICANN. I mean, both are interesting, but it's like your left side of your brain and the right side of your brain. Completely different experience. Both good, and I think it's good to be involved with both because they're not duplication at all. But let me jump from that. What is a bit of duplication? Okay, so let me talk about IETF. IETF, I've attended the IETF sessions. I'm not an engineer on a level like an IETFer who does something called RFCs, requests for comments. That's a very high level of dedication and expertise that some of you that might be really great for you to be involved. There's a group that does a lot of the skills training in India, INTC. In fact, they had a session yesterday on IPv6. But the IETF used to be part of ISOC. ISOC was the mothership for IETF for more than 20 years. And ISOC started very humbly financially, and then they created something .org. .org gave them the money to underwrite IETF and also ISOC. So $20 million roughly they used to get from .org. Now it's roughly 34 million that they get from as a result of the domain name .org. They control it, but the people who minister .org is something called PIR, Public Interest Registry. And Paul Diaz used to be the point person. It's now a person named Elizabeth. She is a good person to connect with in the business community. So what we have is the IETF about 3 years ago ended up becoming its own financial entity. And they have 3 conferences a year. They have fellowship programs also. I attend almost all the sessions remotely. I've attended 2 physically, but I strongly recommend if you're a technical person and you want to get involved from a technical point of view on the RFCs, dive into the IETF and find someone who's involved with the IETF to help you in that journey. That's a whole thing. If you look at the map of all the players, and we don't have the map here, there's a great graphic, Shudri, on the different players, but that whole segment is so important, the RFC stuff. Strongly recommend getting involved. I mentioned ISOC. I'm the co-founder of ISOC Canada, and I started that, gosh, maybe 8 years ago, myself and another associate. So we started the ISOC Canada, and then I ran for the ISOC International Board. So I was on the ISOC International Board for 3 years. And then COVID hit, boom. So a lot of things have changed. They still don't understand very well. If you try to attend, like ISOC has 3 meetings a year, and they don't do a very good job on remote participation. No one monitors the Q&A. You put your hand up, nobody acknowledges you. They don't read the chat. So if you are a member of ISOC in your country, or maybe your special interest groups, maybe you have a particular interest group that you have that ISOC has. For example, Judith Ellerstein and Jolly McPhee run the ISOC chapter focused on people with disabilities. It used to be 2 other chaps, but they didn't do anything. So these 2 are doing some pretty active work on raising the awareness of the disabled community. Very, very interesting. But ISOC has opportunities, just like what you guys are enjoying with the fellowship program. There's the Youth Ambassador program, and there's the Mid-Career Fellowship program. Both of those are available for any of you to apply. So just out of curiosity, I know, I think, you know what, Shidrape, you're part of ISOC Nepal, right?
Yes, yes, Glenn. We founded ISOC Nepal in 2007.
Okay, okay. And are you on the executive still with ISOC
No. So
Nepal?
what happened was we founded ISOC Nepal in 2000. I mean to say we got engaged, started with ISOC engagement in 2007. There were a lot of issues. So in 2009 we got it legally registered, and recently it was delisted in before the COVID 2020. So now again a new group has taken over and reestablished the community. So it's in process of working right now. So I'm not in
Okay.
the executive member right now.
Okay. So you see, I'm not actively involved with ISOC either, because you have to find your community, what you find the most welcome, and in what you can have the biggest impact.
So true.
Yeah, I'm not on the board, which means it's when you're on a board like the international board, it was a very challenging thing to be on the board, because at that time ISOC was looking at selling .org,
Right,
which
right.
caused a lot of problems.
Problems.
And my wife was on the PIR advisory, so it's a
Okay.
conflict of interest for
Right.
me to vote. So I was the only one that abstained from voting
Okay.
on the sale of .org. This is a very complicated issue. It caused a lot of people to get pretty angry. I don't. I think it needs it's a lot of work to do. But ISOC is now moving forward. They have a new CEO.
Right.
The woman, she's taken over from the previous president. He's moving on. I'm not sure what he's doing, but I if you're not a member of ISOC, Rukia is member of ISOC Quebec, but if you're not a member of ISOC, look into it. It doesn't cost you anything. So ISOC is something that I was involved with, and I take a passing interest in what they're doing. As a former trustee, I get emails on different things from my advice. So I had long conversations with their fundraising chair on how they could raise money. So I'm not. It's probably one of the things I'm not involved with as I was in the past, and there's two reasons. As I moved away from ISOC during the COVID period, because my tenure was up in the summer of 2020, myself, Eduardo Diaz, and Alfredo Calderon ran the North American School of Internet Governance. It's the only school of internet governance in North America, and we've done it in Canada, United States, Puerto Rico, and we were supposed to do it at an ICANN meeting in Washington, but for the period of COVID, we couldn't do it. So myself and Alfredo, we said, well, why don't we create the virtual school of internet governance? And I said, okay, why don't we do it? So thankfully to PIR, and again, this is the power of connecting with people. And so we approached PIR, and they were very quickly willing to contribute. So they were our first sponsor. And if you go to I gave you the link earlier, but I'll type it in again, virtualsig.org. You can click on the sponsorship page. You can see who came in, and many of those people are still sponsors. In fact, Google contacted me last week to renew their partnership with us. But so myself and Alfredo sat down and we said, how do we create a course? And we want it multilingual. We want it free and available to anyone, and using a platform that stimulated conversation and people to learn from each other, and a huge repository of resources. So we created something called a MOOC, Massive Open Online Courseware, MOOC. And the tool we use is called Moodle. So any of you interested in, oops, I didn't type it right. I'll just type it here. You can look it up. The licenses vary on how many students you have. So we've had 1,700 students since we started. We have our current rendition of our 11th rendition of our course right now. We have roughly 57 English students. We just wrapped up. Actually, we're giving the students a little longer to finish their tests and reading materials. Everything we have in the course is available for people to take. There is nothing on the site that says we own it. We will sue you if you touch it. You're not allowed to use it. Like every other organization, you'll see the legal language. ICANN, ISOC, all of them have the same language, that it's our material, don't touch it. We're saying to you, take everything you want. whether it's links, download the papers. We try to convert everything into ebooks. Thank you, Rukia, for that vote of confidence. We try to provide as much as possible without killing you, but and like it's like a fire hose. We ton of material, so you have to pick and choose what you want to go into depth, because we have so many complementary resources, and we're always looking for new material. But the critical thing that we wanted to recognize is when people come together, they're greater than just individuals. So it's not just 1 + 1 + 1 is 3, it's actually 10 or 100, because when they come together and join forces and bounce ideas off each other, they actually learn from each other. So you can have somebody doing some incredible security stuff or privacy stuff in Nepal, and somebody in Cambodia is doing something similar, and you're not really competition. And it's not like university or college where you're aware that other people are trying to steal your stuff. And if you get away from that the material is free to everyone, uh, because whatever you give out, you'll get back. And so even if we get a small fraction of what people download or use, if we get a little bit, that just adds to our pool. So, but it takes time. In fact, I was mentioning to one of our funders last week that our emergent technology section is no other school is doing emergent technology as a topic. And it was a suggestion by our students. And so quantum computing is something we're working on now as an additional component. And we've found some very good speakers for that topic. So VSIG has English, French, and Spanish. The Russian translation, my translator ran into medical issues. I think he's doing better now, but he was in Montreal, but he's gone back to Moscow. So hopefully we can resurrect that. We have a UN translator to help him. The other language, which is the 5th largest language in the world, and I'm sure some of you know what that is, that's Bengali. So that's another language we hope to have off the ground. We also had some talks in actually Beijing, Beijing University, to simplify Chinese into the course. So again, we don't want to get too diverse with VSIG. Spanish is probably the most successful course we have from community involvement. We just finished a course, 97 students, and most of them were from Cuba. No one else is providing a course in Spanish, in internet governance in Cuba. Not ISOC, not ICANN, not other organizations. So we organized it with the local university, and so very successful. So that was one of our initiatives we just finished, and we'll start a new Spanish course in the spring. But we've also done French we found a partner in Benin and also in Haiti, and again focused on Haitian, adapted the course to deal with Haitian issues. So that's the 3 languages, and the course runs roughly 3 months long, and again it's self-paced. So the next North American school will be in Puerto Rico next October or November. We're just working out the logistics of that, and that's a face-to-face school. So again, VSIG does not replace a face-to-face school, whether it's INSIG in India or the AP SIG in Asia Pacific or the Southern School. All those schools have a very important role to play that's face-to-face. The other thing, I talked about IETF briefly. I talked about my involvement with ICANN. I talked about my involvement with ISOC and VSIG and North American School of Internet Governance. There was another thing I wanted to mention. Okay, IGF. IGF, just like ICANN, has fellowships. There's national IGFs, there's regional IGFs, and there's international. The next international is in December, and that's in Saudi Arabia. Now, if you can't go, you can always do it remotely. So I strongly recommend what I do with the IGF, because you can submit any proposal. We didn't get our proposal didn't accept it this year, but I've done a number of talks at I've probably been to 10 IGFs, and it's really good to have an opportunity to speak. But if you can't go, they stream all the sessions on YouTube, and the beauty of it, you can scroll through very quickly some sessions, and it's much faster and more efficient to go through that. But go to the IGF. It's the IGF Saudi Arabia, or Riyadh, which is coming up in December, and look at each of the workshops and register. If you haven't registered for the IGF, I strongly recommend doing that, and do the sessions remotely. And then what's the beauty is, when you look at the workshop, you get a list of all the speakers and who's actually participating, and those individuals you can reach out to, or get an idea what their topic is, and then you can post your question. Because one of the things which the IGF does well is when they do the remote Zoom, I assume they're going to use Zoom, they will have something called a rapporteur, and the person is dedicated to monitor the online community. And that's important, because you can get your voice told at the IGF. And again, they keep on saying we have available fellowships, but it's only for the global south. So if you are applying, and most of you are from the global south, that you're eligible for the IGF fellowship. So there's also, you can drill down to the IGF national or regional in your area, and then there's something called the IGF Youth. Canada's doing their first one, really, at the end of October, which I was intending to go to it, but I won't be able to. But Rukia is going to be there. But you can look at the sessions, and IGF should be consultative. It should be finding out what the needs are. Yes, it's in September, end of this month. It should be publicly looking for what is relevant to your country, to your region, rather than just global stuff. It should be talking about, in the case of this IGF Youth that's coming up in September 27th, I think, they're going to be talking about a bill. I think it's, Rukia, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill 16, which is highly contagious by our Liberal government. But again, that's a relevant local legislation that's applicable to Canadians and youth. So they have a number of panels that they have. I think they may have some resources, but if anybody's interested, I haven't seen anything yet about the remote participation. As I said, I also participated in the IGF USA. So I was on the committee suggesting things. Again, worth looking into who is organizing IGFs in your area, how to get involved. I was asked here in a question, would appreciate to get fellowship opportunities through an email. Okay. So I think I've touched on the IGF. The other thing that the Caribbean UNDP and GSMA, the United Nations Development Program, and GSMA is a mobile technology group. Both of those have conferences, mobile. Barcelona, I think, is the GSMA. But again, GSMA has a foundation, and the GSMA foundation might be something that if you guys have created an app that could be perfect on mobile, maybe election app or something, I would look at the foundation by GSMA. UNDP has fantastic papers, and the Caribbean organization that's part of the UNDP has a conference, and they just did it recently. And what's good for them that recently, because I've attended their meetings, the Caribbean UNDP group in Belize and in Trinidad, those groups are constantly looking what is an important theme, because the themes can't stay the same. You got to keep, same as with our North American school, not every year it's a different theme. Shadreep, is there something I left out? I think I've touched on most of the landscape.
Yes, a lot of the things, a lot of information, especially, it'll help them in their internet governance journey. But specifically, I have a question for you. You have been engaged with the ICANN community, especially with the at large and social media engagement. I've seen you a lot about doing photographs, about engagement with the social media. What would you suggest to the fellows about how should they engage in the ICANN meeting, so that they grow attention, as well as they can put themselves in the focus, and how they can bring about within the community? Because as the community is there, but you have to stand out. So what would be your suggestion?
Well, to be honest, I look to you as much as you look to me. I try to tell a story with pictures. You try to tell a story with words. You've done extremely good as a social media expert in blogging, in telling the story, interviewing people, and getting the word out. All of us, all of us on this call today, and people who are listening to this recording, can be, bloggers. Each of us can be interviewing people.
So true.
It would be a huge mistake for you not to go up to somebody. And if you can't do that, you need to learn how to communicate with people. Don't sit back at the back of the room and sit on your hands. Take an effort. You got, as part of a fellowship program, you're obligated to report on, what you're doing. If you want a productive, fellowship meeting, you can go there and oh, I had a nice trip, and that's it. Or you can do what Shadreep did. He goes in and he uses his skill, which is a social blogger, interviews people, does short little reports. Not everybody does this. I'll tell you, for years I was advocating that every single meeting that we had with At Large, somebody does, it's called a DOSON. That person writes a report on what happened in that room and the action items. Okay? To get people to do it was like pulling teeth. Everybody loved to read it, but they're a bunch of lazy bastards. They didn't want to make the effort to actually do it. And then when you ask people, okay, can you do this small report? They did it half-fast. So not everybody gets it. Not everybody understands it. But here's an opportunity, and you can go up to somebody. Say you're really interested in security. Go to SAC meeting. find out who the chair is, whatnot. And there's Steve Crocker, a founder of the internet. Okay, he's nobody different. He breathes the same air as you.
So true.
He's not scary. Go up to Steve saying, "You're a fellow. Could you give me 10 minutes for a short interview? You can record it on your phone and have a few questions in mind." And I guarantee you, Steve will give you 10 minutes. In fact, it can go a lot longer. But take his picture. There's your blog. It's a fantastic, and who knows, in your local community, that article could be picked up on your local paper.
So true. So true. So
Am
well
I right?
said. So true. That's an
Yeah.
engagement, Glenn. I mean to say, you could put it in your website or YouTube and show that what you have done, right? So true. Thank you.
Yeah. You know what? At the end of the day, if you want these other fellowships,
Yes.
you got to
Engagement.
prove
Yeah. So true.
you engaged.
Yeah.
You know, why should I give you the names
Names,
of
right.
fellowships from another thing? And if
So
you
true.
don't get off your ass and do something, right?
Right.
Like it is, you guys are lucky to get this,
So true.
right? And you know what? 99% of the people I meet over 10 years, they do nothing with the fellowship
So
program.
true.
They do nothing.
Excellent.
You can make a difference in actually getting something out of it. And the beauty of this, and I'm not telling you anything that's not true, not everybody is asked to come back for another time. Okay? There's people that have gotten more than one fellowship, and they have to select who they are. The people who do nothing are not selected.
So true.
People who do something are selected. So think about it, right? It's not you know, it's not nuclear science. It's pretty simple, right? You be personable, be courteous to who you speak to. Just take the time. I took, oh my gosh, Shadreep, how many pictures did I take? I took 13 million views on Flickr of every single meeting. And people would come to me and say, "Oh, can you email me my picture?" I do professional photos. I'm speaking at a mic or whatever. Here's my logic. They want something I have, right? Okay, I have something you want.
So true.
Okay, so I created the Flickr site. I'm monitoring the viewership, and I would provide the links. And I got doors open to me, and which I've used for VSIG sponsorship, speakers. Like I have 140 speakers. How else could I have met people through the entire ecosystem if I didn't have a hook? Right? I had an angle. I went in. I gave them something. Right? Gave them a photo. I gave them a way to download, no cost, no copyright. They can use their photos because everybody's vain. Everybody wants a good picture, right? So what was happening is no one was like, ICANN had a professional photographer, but they come in, click, gone, right? And who did they photograph? They photographed the CEO.
Yes. Not the, yeah, so true.
But did Shudrip get photographed by the professional? No.
No.
Did I get photographed? No. Did any of the fellows get photographed? Yes, because I did it.
So true.
Right? So I gave something which is based on my skill. Now, I didn't think I would get the return on investment that I did, but it did work out. Okay, so this is a strategy. It doesn't always work, but I think a lot of people are shy, and sometimes maybe do it with another fellow, right? Who's a little bit more aggressive. Being culturally aware. Don't touch, people, regardless if they're Muslim or otherwise. Just be respectful to their culture. And again, I strongly think they should not have alcohol at ICANN meetings. It's disrespectful. It's the same as having a dog there. But you know what? I just don't. I ignore it. But I think a lot of people are aware of it, but it would be nice not to have it. But the alcohol consumption is all free there. It's a little surprising how much, but I guess people like to get drunk. It's not for me though. But pace yourself. Treat it as when you go to the ICANN meeting as running a mile or a marathon. Get a good sleep. Don't overdrink. If you do drink, try to keep yourself balanced. But think before you ask. If you're trying to find somebody for that interview, keep it short. Make sure you have one or two questions. If they opt to stay with you longer, great. But don't abuse their time or good behavior. Lots of people are great too. So if anyone's interested in environmental issues at ICANN, we'll be meeting with senior staff, the Vice President Egros, myself, Daniel, Perry, Estefari, a number of people who are pushing for ICANN to be a carbon neutral group. So I'll be at the DNS and Women's group. I'll be at all the Norello meetings, probably NPOC meetings. I'll probably be somebody with a camera, so you'll know it's me. Back to you, Shadrik.
Yes, I think those are the wise words that we have to follow. As I have mentioned, you all, use the social media, tag people. Glenn made it very clear about how to create your own engagement involving people, whether it's about taking interviews or whether you are clicking pictures. In the community, we don't have people who are working in the right way, because it's all about your commitment, your passion, and how you create this community. Join your Ralos, go out there. We are there. To your program. And Glenn, it has been magical since last time that we have collaborated. I mean to say, I have collaborated with so many fellows that they have gone back and done some outreach and engagement. And the magic is happening. I mean to say, new blood is coming, the fresh people are coming in. They are going back, doing awareness, capacity building programs. They are doing, like, they're talking. And these are the tips that you want to use with people like him, who are like always supportive. You could always go and talk to Glenn. I mean, I met him like ages back, and we have been, he's like a big brother. He has guided me. We've worked together. So, and our energy match, because we want to work, we want to improve the community. We always need that passion. And thank you. I would request you to have your last word. I mean to say, like the thing about how you can further create your engagement. And because we are right on time, so what would be your last suggestion with the fellows, that what they need to do? And I've always told them to come prepared. So what would be your ultimate recommendation for the new fellows, especially the newcomers?
Yeah. Thank you all for your patience with me today. I hope I try to speak relatively slow, and I tried not to use as many acronyms. I want you to realize I never was involved with internet issues really before I got involved with so many groups. It was like falling into a hole. I went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's a complex web of entities. And when I started doing this, there was no training. Unfortunately, ISOC has some nice training. ICANN has some nice training. We provide VSIG. Uh, it'll be in January when we start the next cohort. I'll be sharing that. I'll be VSIG Group M in January, and the Spanish won't be till March. But you guys are very fortunate to be fellows with this, and make a point of, when you see a board member, and this is my last comment, go up, and if they accept handshakes, great. Go up to each of the board members and thank them for the fellowship program. because if there's cutbacks, which there will be, like any organization has fiscal responsibility, we want them to realize your faces are impacted and that the fellowship is a good investment. And the only reason they can understand it's a good investment because they're investing in you as individuals. And so, thanking them, thanking them is not a big effort. We're not asking you to take money out of your pocket. Just make an effort, find out where the board members are, even at the beginning or the end of a board meeting at ICANN, early or later, go up to them and say, I'm a fellow. This is my name. This is the country. It's been fantastic. We appreciate, the allocation funding for the fellowship program. I hope not to say you're telling them that we're scared the funding will be gone. It doesn't really matter to you anymore. You were funded, but it's an important aspect of the multi-stakeholder model. Okay, Sharjit? Done.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn. That was an excellent suggestion. Thank you for coming in and sharing your ideas, views, and thoughts. I mean to say, it will help the fellows grow. And please join your Raylos. Reach out to him. Add him in. If you're there, if you meet him in the meeting, also please go talk to him, because it's a friendlier community, and this is the way we communicate. Join the resources that he has said. VSig is a great tool, NHSig as well. So try working with people, try working with what he has said. And thank you all for joining. I will officially like to end this call. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you. Bye-bye.